he didn't come from a rich background. He came from good, hard, honest, hard-working people who believed that if you worked hard and used your talents wisely, believe in God first, that you can do all things. When you get to the point that you've done all you can do, then there's a higher being that will help you move on and help you overcome the obstacles that you're going to face in this world. He understands that, and he comes from a background of forefathers who had to struggle, but they didn't struggle in vain, and they didn't get angry about their struggles. They always taught us that work hard and get a good education, and we tried to pass that on to our children. He was different even from birth. When Ken came home from the hospital and he was 6 days old, he was sleeping. He would sleep all night. He was just a mature little boy. And as he grew up, he was always the kind of leader of the pack. He had an older sister who was 18 months older than he and had a younger brother, but they always looked to him for guidance. He would kind of direct what was supposed to be done and how it was supposed to be done. So he was always kind of had leadership abilities. You know, it's interesting when you have children, you see in them as they grow as toddlers, you see traits that carry on throughout life with them. And I saw this early in him. He wasn't a child that I had to get on about doing homework or encouraged to do homework. He'd come home from school and got his work done. And that was one of the unusual things. And if he had a school project to do, he would get all wrapped up in it. And he would work hard and make copies of things and put together projects. So he was different from the average child in getting things done when he was a little boy. And as a child in school. And he always had to have something to do. He didn't like to be idle. He had to be doing something constructive. I always said, we had the three children, Henry and I always said, well, I want one of them to go to Duke and I want one to go to Harvard. That's when they were just little toddlers. Had no idea he'd be the one that would do both. If you've ever had one child in college, especially if they go to Duke and Harvard, the expense that's involved in that. But we not only had Kenny in college, we had three children in college at the same time. But I said to him one day, I think it was near his senior year at Harvard, I said, oh, Kenny, you're going to be making lots of money when you graduate. He looked at me, he said, I'm not going to be making a lot of money. He said, I'm going to use my time and my talents to help people. He said, I'm not going to be after the gold and silver. And my first thought was, son, as many sacrifices we have made, you got to make some money. But then I thought about that afterwards. I said, what a noble thought my son has. That he's not interested in making the big dollar, but he's interested in taking what he has, what he's worked for, what God has enabled him to achieve in his education, to help somebody else. And I think if other people can see that in him, they can see that he will be a person who will work for them and do what he can to make a difference. And that's what life is all about. And that's what his father was all about. So he's following in his father's footsteps. When he is elected as the Senator of North Carolina to the U.S. Senate for the state of North Carolina, all our struggles, all our sacrifices, all the time and work that went into trying to raise children who would be a positive influence on this society will come to fruition. We're very proud of him.